Dear colleagues, I'm Tamás Martos from Hungary, a member of the EMPP board. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you for this tribute, but I have talked to several Hungarian colleagues who respected and loved Mihály Csikszentmihalyi, and I have prepared a short compilation of these Zoom conversations on behalf of those who respected and loved him in Hungary but who can't attend the conference either. Please welcome their words on Mihály.
Just because of my first experience with him, I will change to Hungarian. Pont a magyarsággal való kapcsolatának a fontosságát szeretném én elmondani. Indultunk haza a szállásunkra, amikor is az utcán jött velünk szembe egy ilyen nagypapa forma úriember, itt teljesen laza öltözetbe, mezitlábas szandálba, egy pólóba, és ahogy közeledett felénk, egyszer csak ránk nézett, és megszólított bennünket, hogy magyarok? És akkor mondtuk, hogy igen, magyarok vagyunk, a konferencián vannak, a pozitív pszichológia konferencián? Mondtuk, hogy igen, azon vagyunk. Akkor bemutatkozom, én vagyok Csikszentmihalyi Mihály.
He was sort of transmitting an effect of calmness and quietness towards his friends. So he was a very good company to be with, because he was always sort of transmitting an image of quietness and calmness. I really liked this.
Személy, ő nagyon közvetlen volt, és tulajdonképpen azt kell, hogy mondanom, hogy tényleg minden mondata egy intellektuális öröm volt, vagy élmény volt, mert olyan meggondoltan fogalmazott, de mindig valami csattanója volt annak, amit kifejezni akart, és nagyon érdeklődő volt minden témafelvetéssel kapcsolatban, és biztatta az embert, hogy foglalkozzon ezekkel a témákkal.
It was a big deal when I could first meet the professor, because there was a project, an organizational psychology project, and it was a big moment when I could sit next to him and had a common meeting with the professor and could hear his voice and start a discussion with him. I felt like a teenager girl who meets the idol of her, so it was a big deal. And this meeting, this personal meeting, had a huge effect on my work in the topic of flow.
I read a lot about flow. When I listened his lectures about flow, I always found new perspective and new details about the theory of flow and flow research.
Every time I met him, my experience was that there is something very calm, harmony and wisdom that was around him. He was very simple in the answers. Everyone expected something very complicated, but he gave very simple answers, like just get the child, do things.
I would maybe say that he was open anytime we invited him. He was really in a very high age when we invited him to the Hungarian Positive Psychology Conference, and he was absolutely ready to come.
My personal impression was that he's acting like a golf or tennis superstar or a rock star. When he's traveling, then he's in this free-floating mood where he knows that his time schedule is very, very tight, and he's taken from here to there, from there to over the other place, and so on. But then he's going back to California, and he's sort of closing himself into his internal world.
There was a lot of laughter on this afternoon. That's the afternoon of the Inspiration Day, when they answered all sorts of questions related to private life, as Eszter said, sitting there with her wife Isabella. And I think he had a really good humor. And if you ask me now to cite anything he said that made us laugh, I couldn't say, but I just remember that he had a humor, a very intelligent and fun way of humor to talk about, you know, those difficult or those big questions of life that always come from the audience. I think it reassured us, not just me, but everyone. So it gave the feeling that everyone can do it, that we are doing it, and just not having this feeling that we must, that we have to take those big efforts, but just be there and be present, try things and enjoy. So it gave us the feeling that we're doing right, that we are all right, basically.
When he was here, he always started his lectures and speeches in Hungarian. And there were some discussions that were published in the media, which were in Hungarian. So I think it was quite important for him to nurture the language, his mother language, and to use it. It wasn't an important thing that decades ago he left the country and he lived in another place. It was important to him to follow his origins, his roots.
Talán szimbolikus kifejezése az ő magyarsághoz való kötődésének az is, hogy e-mail címe az Miska. Tehát, hogy ugye a Mihálynak a beceneve. Ő büszke volt a magyarságáról, az abból is kifejeződött, hogy a nehezen kiejthető nevének a megfejtésénél ő mindig elmagyarázta, hogy ő honnan származik. Az első magyarországi konferencia részvétele az egy európai konferenciához kötődik, és az utolsó is.
And he gave interviews for the TV in Hungarian. But anyway, his Hungarian developed very much when I met him personally. So after this meeting, he spoke more. So when he visited in Hungary, so after visited to Hungary several times.
He was never spending time in making logos for his activities. Rather, he was making the activities themselves and involving his Hungarian colleagues in these activities.
When I went to a bookshop in Budapest, I found a brown book that I kept that's called Flow, and I just started to read it, and it was really interesting for me. And this is one of the book that affected me to become a psychologist.
Minden meghívást megpróbált teljesíteni, és nagyon sok kapcsolatot épített aztán. Aki kint volt, az fölkarolta, támogatta, tehát itt már lehetett érezni azt, hogy ő nagyon erősen támogatja a magyar pszichológiát.
He was very eager to involve people like Attila, Oláh, and then his co-workers into the entire sort of positive psychology movement.
This experience that I could meet a professor before, and then now I can work about flow and can do research about flow. It's quite a big deal for me, because I know who was the original author, who was the one who invented it. So it gives me some extra quality to this topic.
I learned to appreciate how freshly he could accommodate to different circumstances and have very different messages for an academic audience, from an educational audience, and for a business audience.
You can be who you are, just the human being who you are, and so simple and real and authentic. And I guess that he was one of these big personalities.
All to miss Mishka all the time, with his sudden reappearances here in Hungary, so he never will show up, but his spirit is present, and I hope it is going to stay present, to remain in